Namaste, guys. ChristianRLong, life enhancement consultant, giving you a big and beautiful shout out on this Sunday afternoon here in Denver, Colorado. It's about 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time. The sun's out, not really a cloud in the sky. It's actually beautiful out. I just took out the garbage like 30 minutes ago. It's getting full. I don't know how many, Zach, Namaste. I don't know how many garbage bags you go through on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Jillian, Namaste. But in this crib, usually about every 7 to 10 days. So I buy the 42 trash bags and it lasts me for almost an entire year. It's pretty sweet. So I want to jump on and kind of ruffle some feathers today, if you guys are up for that, if you're open and receptive to it, because I was thinking, I'm always reflecting on Adriana, Namaste. I'm always reflecting on my life, where I stand, where I came from, where I am, and where I'm going. And then I also stalk people on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, not really much on Twitter. The energy on Twitter, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's very heavy, it's very aggressive, and a lot of solar plexus. So I do my best to stay away from Twitter as much as I possibly can. More Instagram, more LinkedIn, more Facebook is my jam, but not to say that there aren't opportunities for healing over on Twitter as well. So, Kim, Namaste. Good to have you back on. You're becoming a regular. I like that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, how many people are familiar with one of the most famous marketing slogans in history? Yvonne, Namaste. One day we'll get you on the weekly Sunday meditations and healings. How many are familiar with Nike's slogan, just do it? Anyone? Anyone heard that before? Just do it. And I was thinking about how does that relate, that athletic slogan for a athletic apparel company, how does that slogan relate to life? And so reflecting on it in the world that I work in, energy healing, meditation, and practical spirituality, there's a term that has been given to people who are very, 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 very mental, and they read lots of books about spirituality, yoga, metaphysics, religion, theosophy, all kinds of spiritual things. These people are called metaphysicians. Metaphysicians meaning beyond the physical, right? So they're studying the world of spirituality. And there's an interesting thing that I've noticed, and this is not a across the board in every case, but this is the case with a lot of people. Applies to everything in life. For sure. So a metaphysician is somebody who picks up the book, studies the book backwards and forwards, knows the book inside and out, but does not apply that book and the principles in that book in their day-to-day life. And I thought to myself, how apropos is that for almost everyone in every area of their life, especially their personal lives? So what's a super easy, simple example? Because we have the theory, right? The metaphysician is dealing with the theory, dealing with the concept and the principle, and then you have the person who practices it, right? So that's why in pranic healing, we're very adamant, if you will, about practical spirituality, taking a spiritual principle and applying it into our lives, getting feedback, and through that feedback, we tweak, we alter, we change, and then we continue to move forward. So several years ago, I had the ambition to put on 20 pounds of lean body mass, right? 20 pounds of lean body mass. So I went online, I did all the research, I looked at what I had to do with my physical exercise routine, what I had to do with my nutrition, and what I had to do with my sleep, right? And the information that was being provided to me was you can put on 20 pounds of lean body mass in about 8 to 10 weeks. So I thought, okay, well, I already have a pattern of regularly working out, doing heavy lifting 5 days a week. All I have to do is add my nutrition. At that time, I was consuming around 1,300 to 1,400 calories per day. That's not a lot for somebody who's working out. So I was never gaining weight. So in order for me to get that a goal, I would have to increase my caloric intake to about 2,300 to 2,400 calories per day, with a little bit more protein and a little less carbohydrates, right? That was the plan. That was the objective. And they said 8 to 10 weeks. It's a mathematical formula, right? Mathematical certainty. You want to gain this much weight in this period of time, you do this, this, and this. That was the what? The theory. And other people had accomplished it. So I thought, well, if they accomplished it, then I accomplished it. Oh yeah, Zach's all about paleo. If you guys haven't checked out Zach's business, because that's part of his business is paleo nutrition, check it out, right? So I applied this, and I applied it like to the letter, right? To the letter. I increased my caloric intake. I increased the weights that I was already doing, which was very heavy. And after 8 weeks of hitting it super hard at the gym and super hard in the kitchen, guess what happened? I lost 1 pound. Instead of gaining 20 pounds, I lost 1 pound. So I said, this doesn't make any sense. I think I defied the laws of genetics and biology. This doesn't make any sense. So what I thought was going to be an 8 to 10 week journey ended up turning into a 14-month journey to put on that weight and losing a percentage of body fat. I want to be basically 20 pounds heavier with 1% less body fat, and I was able to accomplish that, right? So isn't it interesting that that was my theory and I was stuck on my theory? So what would that look like if I never went through that journey? It would have looked like I tell everybody else that I'm the expert because I read a book, I went to a few blog posts, I listened to a few podcasts, now I'm the expert and this is how you're supposed to do it, right? Or you have one person does that in their life and then they tell everybody that that's the gospel, right? That if you want to do it, you got to follow it the way that I did it, right? I've been lucky enough in my 20 years as a meditation practitioner and 16 years as a professional energy healer, working with thousands of people and teaching thousands of people, I now have enough frames of reference to go, okay, this is most likely the best recommendation for this person to overcome an addiction, to overcome anger, to overcome fear. So the point of tonight's or today's or this afternoon's stream is to say, yes, theory is good, understanding is good, doing the research is good, but until that research, understanding, and study meets the road and becomes practical, it doesn't really matter. So you have to experience to yourself to truly understand it. Yes, that's one level of truth, regardless of the information you have. Yes. So you can read a bunch of books on how to start a business and think, in theory, you are an expert on what it takes to start a business versus the person who goes out and takes action to start a business. Their feedback will be infinitely more valuable than the person who just has theory. Same thing with exercise. Same thing with dating, relationships, and romance, right? Same thing. You can have the person who lives in the Disneyland fairy tale world of relationships, that this is how a relationship is supposed to start, this is how a relationship is supposed to continue, and then till death do us part, right? That's the perception and understanding of that person. Now, that understanding is very limited. That understanding is very limited, and it's very, I'm looking for another word other than limited. It doesn't deal with reality. Does that make sense? It doesn't deal with reality. Because how many of us when we were 15, 16, 17-year-olds had the perception of what dating should be, what relationships should be, what marriage should be, and then we actually start dating, right? We start dating, we start having sex, we start having connections, we start having long-term commitments, and then what? Our concept originally gets either challenged or completely and utterly destroyed, which is okay. That's the part of growing and evolving. But there are certain people who have a concept of how something should be that's not based in reality, that's not based in how things are, and then they continue to suffer. Because at the end of the day, this is all about alleviating suffering. Grandmaster Choa Koksui says, unrealistic expectations lead to suffering. Unrealistic expectations lead to suffering. So for instance, some of you may be familiar with the social media guru, Gary Vaynerchuk. And he says, some of you will take this advice partially. You'll jump onto Instagram. You'll direct message 50 people about your product or service. These 50 people on Instagram won't get back to you, and you'll say, it doesn't work. And he says, how crazy is that you're willing to give up on your dream of being a successful entrepreneur, impacting the lives of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, and you already give up after feedback of 50 people, I reached out to them, nobody got back to me. Does that make sense? So a person has a theory and an unrealistic expectation of what it will take to be successful using that platform to promote a product or service, right? For instance, how many people are familiar with Rocky, right? Sylvester Stallone was the writer. Was he also the producer? He was the writer and main actor for Rocky. When he wrote Rocky, it took him about 3 days to write the screenplay for Rocky. He pitched it not to 1, not to 50, not to 100, but to 1,200 directors and producers within New York City, and he got turned down 1,200 times. It was over 1,200 times before he finally got approved for the production of Rocky to be made. Think about that. So what if he had the unrealistic expectation that it says in this book, right? It says in this book that I have to go out and talk to 100 people, and out of talking to 100 people, 10 people are going to want my product or service. Okay, that's it. But what if you talk to 100 people and nobody wants your product or service? Then what do you do? Do you give up? Do you quit? Do you change directions? Do you change your strategy? Angela, namaste. Just got to brush it off and go again. Just do it, right? Exactly. Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui used to call one of the masters in pranic healing the just do it girl. The just do it girl, because Grandmaster would say, here's your assignment, here's your homework, here's your mission. I'm going to go leave for 6 months, teach and train around the world, and when I come back, I want an update on the progress of the assignment that I gave you. And she would never question the teacher. She would say, yes, master, thank you, master, and she would get to work. She would just do it. So what was she gaining, right? What was she gaining? She was gaining practical knowledge, practical understanding, practical experience versus staying in her mental space, staying in the world of the metaphysicians, staying in the world of the philosophers, staying in the world of coulda, shoulda, woulda, ifs, maybes, buts, right? Never taking that principle and applying it into your day-to-day life. It would be similar, Leanne, namaste. It would be similar to a salesperson training other salespeople who has never, field experience, correct, who has never sold anything in their entire life. Does that make sense? I have sold hundreds of thousands of dollars of products and services over the phone and online. So that would make me a qualified person to say, from my experience, do this and don't do this. Now, does that mean my experience is going to embody every single person's experience and how it's going to be? No, because there are many, many, many factors to success. There are many factors to failure, right? But as an example, because we all start off at different levels, right? We all start off at different levels of intelligence. We start off at different levels of emotional capabilities. We all start off at different levels of our family background and upbringing. We all start off at different abilities of where we were financially or socioeconomically. So there are all these different levels, but there are fundamental principles that must be applied. I'll give you an example. You ready? I'm going to share with you these fundamental principles that apply to every single human being on the planet, whether they are conscious of applying it or unconscious of applying it. The principle still remains the same. You ready? So you have a thought form, right? You have a thought form. You have a goal, a target, an objective that you want to accomplish in your life, right? Whatever it is, you want to have a new car, you want to have a new house, you want to have a new relationship, you want to make more money, you want to start a business, whatever that is that you want to materialize. 3 things These three things will destroy or block what you want to materialize. You ready? Doubt, fear, and anger. Doubt, fear, and anger will destroy or block the energies to whatever it is that you want to materialize, right? So that's the theory. Now you have to apply that into your life, right? So you have to sit down and look at, this is my goal, my target, my objective. This is what I want to accomplish for 2020. Do I have fear around accomplishing that? Yes, no, maybe, right? Do I have doubt around accomplishing that? I don't know if I can do it. And do I have anger around accomplishing that? This is ridiculous. Why do I have to have this goal, this target, this project? Why isn't it working faster? Blah, 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 blah. Right? Frustration. If you have those things, you are shooting yourself in the foot to accomplishing and achieving that goal, target, or objective. Right? So far, so good. Yes? Now, the good news is the three things that you have to have to properly and rapidly materialize your goal, your target, your project is ready, clarity. What is it that you are wanting to accomplish? Is it fuzzy or is it super detailed? So clarity. Number 2 is certainty, right? Certainty. I am certain that I somehow, some way can accomplish this goal. You would think we'll get to it in a second. And then the third one is positive emotions. Positive emotions. That I am positive, I am happy, enthusiastic, grateful, joyful, that I am going to accomplish this target, goal, or objective, right? So looking at the example of Sylvester Stallone with Rocky, fear, doubt, and anger, did those energies come up at some point of him prospecting 1,200 times to get his screenplay approved? Absolutely. But what were the predominant energies? Clarity. He knew exactly what he was offering and exactly what he wanted. 2, he had certainty that somehow, some way, someone is going to say yes to get this screenplay produced. 3, he had positive emotions more often than he had negative emotions. How do we know? Because he kept going. Clarity of what I want, certainty that I will get it, positive emotions. Got it. Yep. And hold on, guys. We got some comments here. My photography career. Angela, yes, you can apply these. I will have to watch the replay. It's early for me. I know, you little early bird. Then Zach says, oops, doubt, fear, and anger will block the energies of those to materialize. I'm writing that on my mirror. Thank you. Those definitely hold me back. Yes. So again, you have a goal. You have a target. You have an objective that you want in your life. The energies that are blocking and destroying your ability to get closer to that materialization, fear, anger, and doubt. It sounds, listen to me guys, it sounds so obvious. Believe me, it sounds so obvious, right? We're having this exchange. This is still in your theory world. Part of you are starting to have some light bulbs going off in your head because you're starting to step that energy down into looking at your life and going, you know what? I had anger here and it didn't happen. I had doubt here and it didn't happen. I had fear here and it didn't happen. Okay, so you're starting to integrate the energy. You're starting to integrate the lessons, right? Now, how do you materialize? You have certainty, you have clarity, and you have positive emotions. Now you have to practice those things. So if you master letting go of the negative energies and you master energizing the positive energies, you'll get where you want to go faster than ever before. And then guess what? Now, once you accomplish your goal, your target objective, you can be an embodiment of that teaching, embodiment of that energy. It's no longer a theory. Because right now, some of you who are watching this live or watching the replay, it's going to make sense to you theoretically. You're like, yeah, I get it. Don't have doubt, don't have anger, don't have fear. Yeah, it makes sense. But that does not mean you're applying it. You have to apply it. I can tell you many times in my life, when I wanted something and it didn't happen, it was because I had fear, I had doubt, and I had a lot of anger, probably more anger than anything else. How many people have been disappointed in their lives? How many people have wanted something, this big goal, ambition, whatever, and then it just falls right through, dematerializes at your feet? And it doesn't just happen once, it doesn't just happen twice, it doesn't just happen 3 or 4 times, but dozens, if not hundreds of times. Fernando, Atma Namaste. Does that make sense? So it's super, super important to not give up. Right? What did Winston Churchill, which I think he had a level of practical spirituality during World War II, he says, enthusiasm is falling down and being able to begin to be able to begin again with the same level of enthusiasm. Like that's success. Like if you fall down and you're so disappointed, you're so depressed, you're so distraught that you don't continue, then you're kind of missing out. Enthusiasm is being disappointed and just keeping the same frame of reference of, all right, I just called 20 people and got rejected. Time to call 21 and see what happens. This is the call. This is the one that's going to, this is going to be the person that's going to be ready, willing, and able to purchase my product or service. Does that make sense? So, I mean, think about it. There aren't 1,200 producer and directors in New York City at the time that Sylvester Stallone was pitching Rocky. So he got rejected by the same people multiple times. But guess what? Hey, I'm back. Remember how we talked about this? Remember how we talked about this script, this screenplay? Let's do it again. There you go. Zach. See, Zach has been in sales. Zach is in business, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about. Christy, bring it on. Come on in. Water's fine. So, again, hey, Christy, there you are. So, again, the main premise from today's talk, right? The main premise from today's talk is staying out of your head, right? Don't become a metaphysician that you've studied everything, you know everything, but you never apply anything. Meaning you wouldn't take financial advice from a poor person. You wouldn't take fitness advice from a unfit person. You wouldn't take meditation advice from somebody who has chaotic thoughts and stress and anger all the time, right? You just wouldn't. And a lot of you might be saying, well, wait a minute, Christian, if a big fat person sitting in front of me was giving me fitness advice and the fitness advice is correct, does that negate the advice or the information this unhealthy, unfit person is giving to me to become healthy and fit? Yes and no. And this is why. It's not just the knowledge. Listen to me, guys. It's not just the knowledge you're getting from another human being, information, right? You're also getting a quality of energy from that person. Does this make sense? You're getting a quality of energy from that person. I'll give you a personal story that's maybe, I think this happened about 10 years ago. So every single year in New York City, the Pranic Healing Organization in New Jersey would rent a booth at a certain expo. It was called the New Life Expo. It's still going on. It's been going on for I think maybe 35 or 40 years. That's actually how 2 of the masters got involved in pranic healing, was because of a pranic healing expo 25 years ago. Pretty interesting, right? So they rented out an entire floor in this particular hotel. This was not the New Life Expo. It was a specific to pranic healing, where we had many different rooms. We had healing rooms. We had lecture rooms. We had all these different rooms, right? All these different rooms, and that we could provide different value to people. So one of the slots to add value was talking about a class called Kriya Shakti, a class that Grandmaster Cho Koksui developed many, many years ago to help healers become more materially and financially prosperous, abundant, and successful. Because his thinking was, if you have a person of goodwill that has lots of resources and lots of money, they can do lots of good in the world, versus a person of goodwill that has minimal resources, minimal money, how much of an impact can they have, right? Warren Buffett and Bill Gates can do a much greater impact in the world than, say, a homeless person. Even though they may still be loving and kind and sweet and intelligent, they don't have the capital, the resources to have a big impact into the world, right? Money is the fuel for goodwill. Is this making sense? So I was like asking one of the masters, hey, can I give the talk on Kriya Shakti to inspire other people to take that class? I knew the class. I had taken the class many times. I knew the information backwards and forwards. Do you guys hear what I'm saying? I knew the information. I knew the principles of Kriya Shakti. But guess what? I was not an embodiment of that energy. I was not a practitioner of Kriya Shakti. I was having financial difficulties. So guess what? The teacher, the master in that area, did not give me the permission to teach that class. Why? Because I did not have the Shakti or the energy of prosperity to go into the students or the participants in the class to transform them. Does that make sense? But guess what? I was lucky enough to lead a lecture on pranic healing and the Twin Hearts meditation. Why? Because I had become proficient and I had become an embodiment of spiritual energies. So the people who are sitting in the class looking to be spiritually fed and looking to be spiritually inspired, their auras expand, their chakras expand, and they get spiritually fed by the teacher through me. Does that make sense? But I was not an embodiment of materialization. I was not an embodiment of prosperity, abundance, and success 10 years ago. So guess what? I was not given permission to teach that class. Is this making sense? So just because somebody says something does not mean they are an embodiment. Denise, namaste. Does not mean they are an embodiment of the thing that they are saying. Very, very, very important. I know firsthand, this is not an attack. This is something to be aware of. I know firsthand many dating coaches, right? Dating and relationship coaches who live complete and utter chaos in their relationships. Complete and utter chaos in their relationships. Several of them in Denver that I know. I would never obviously comment publicly about who these people are because that's not my job and responsibility, and I don't want the karma anyways. But the point I'm making is we see a lot of these experts talking about how to have deep, loving, committed relationships, yes, online, but they don't embody that energy within themselves. Really be aware of that. Paula, namaste. It's the same thing with one of my clients has many friends on Instagram, and he has many friends posting pictures on Instagram on how, a beautiful trip that they went on, beautiful vacations they're having with their family, beautiful activities, whatever the case may be, right? And he says, I know these people and their lives are not even remotely close to what they are posting on social media, right? It's interesting when you think about it, because people are trying to not necessarily, my opinion is too, it's not that people are trying to convince other people that they're living in an ideal lifestyle. Honestly, this is my opinion. It has more to do with they are trying to convince themselves that they're living in an ideal lifestyle. Is this making sense? Right? So, as an example, a lot of you who follow me on Instagram, and if you're not following me on Instagram, head on over, ChristianRLong. It's my name. You'll see me do the blessing mudra. right? You'll see me do the blessing mudra in a lot of my pictures, like celebrating and blessing each day of the week. I promise you, in every single one of those pictures, I am in a optimal, ideal, energetic state, because that is the energy that I want people who look at my picture to connect to. Again, it's not the energy of me, it's the energy of my great, great teacher passing through me, right? So it's not like before I take the picture, I'm in this super angry, frustrated state. I smile really quick and then take the picture. And then right after the picture, I'm like, life is horrible. Life sucks. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I'm in a authentically, genuine, beautiful, radiant state when those pictures are taken. Typically, those pictures are taken actually after my spiritual practice, right? Because I want to have the most amount of energy for the people who are connecting to those pictures. Only listen to energy experts. That's what it all breaks down to. Yeah. Correct. So I'll give you one final tip to be aware of, because we're talking about energy. This is our area of expertise. You guys don't hear me talking about quantum physics. You guys don't hear me talking about tax havens. You guys don't hear me talking about, how to train your dog. These are not my areas of expertise. My area of expertise for over 15 years is energy healing, meditation, and practical spirituality. I've dedicated my life to becoming expert in those areas, which they're pretty big areas. It's basically being an expert in life itself, right? Jokingly. So Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui was a perpetual student. He was always studying. He was always reading. He was always, right, studying, understanding, gaining mental knowledge, and then what? Shelly, Atma Namaste, and then applying that, right, to his day-to-day life. Here's the principle. Here's the concept. Great. Let's apply it. Here's the principle. Here's the concept. Great. Let's apply it. Instead of reading book after 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 book, now what? Now you think that you know everything about that subject, when in fact, you haven't applied any of it. So how much do you really know? How much do you really understand? How much wisdom do you have in that area? It would be similar to, this is kind of a crazy way of looking at it, but it would be similar to public speaking and reading 20 books on public speaking and then never giving a talk and thinking that you know everything that there is to know about public speaking, about tonality, about pauses, about inflection, about volume, about subject matter, about pacing, about all of these things because you read them, but you've never applied them. Versus the guy who's never read a book on public speaking, one, but has given 100 talks or 100 speeches. That person is closer to mastery than this person. Is this making sense? So the last thing I want to leave you with is Master Choa read a lot. He studied a lot. He understood a lot. And he applied what he read. And when he would go to the bookstore, before he would buy a book, right? Before he would buy a book, he would take the book off the bookshelf. He would find a picture of the author, usually on the back cover, right? And he would scan the chakras, the aura, and certain energies of that author to determine if they had the right Shakti, energy, or power to convey a certain lesson to the other person. Brenda, Atma Namaste, good to have you on. Is that making sense? That is an amazing skill you learn in pranic healing. And like any skill, it takes time. Some people are better in the beginning than others, but everybody can get better with practice, right? So he would scan the energy, the aura, the chakras of the author and then go, aha, this person is worth listening to, or this person is worth reading, or this person is worth studying. Give you an example. He would take a book off the bookshelf about some author talking about material and financial prosperity. Yes? Scan the basic chakra, which is at the base of the spine, the tailbone. And the person's basic chakra would be wee, teeny weeny, super small. It's not generating a lot of energy. It's not generating a lot of prana. Guess what? That person doesn't have anything to teach you about being materially and financially prosperous, abundant, or successful. Okay? Another example. Relationship. Jose, you can't get enough today. Good to have you back on. You have a relationship coach, a relationship mentor, dating coach, marriage coach, whatever, right? Scan the heart chakra. Super small heart chakra. That person doesn't have the necessary energy to convey to you to be more loving, to be more kind, to be more patient in your relationships with other people. Making sense so far? Take it to the spiritual level. You are looking to become more spiritualized. You are looking to have a greater connection to your higher self, a greater connection to your spiritual teacher, a greater connection to the great, great, great ones, and a greater connection to God, ultimately to God, right? You scan the spiritual cord, or you scan the crown of the author, and if their crown is smaller than your crown, guess what? They don't have any energy to provide to you. Is this making sense? Why do you think I do my spiritual practice consistently and persistently, week after week, month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year, now decade after decade? Because it connects me to these great, great energies that allows me to be an embodiment to help heal my clients faster, right? And to offer more value to you guys. But if I don't do my spiritual practice, my chakras and my aura are much, much smaller, which means I don't have the energy to help you guys. Is this making sense? Are we on the same page? Zach says, knowing when people are full of shit. That's an intuitive trait that I have. Yes. So to connect what Zach is saying, because Zach is in business. You guys ready? That was a weird burnout. This is actually really, really interesting. Going back to the chakra system. So Zach is saying, I know when people are full of BS, right? I know when people are full of BS. The chakra or energy center that deals with lower intuition, gut instinct, or inner knowing is the navel chakra. That's the chakra that makes you go, this feels right. This doesn't feel right. So the navel, if you were a business person and you had investment opportunity A and investment opportunity B, you look at A and the numbers are great. It looks profitable, it looks good, it looks workable, but there's something about it that doesn't feel right. That's the lower intuition kicking in and telling the person that deal is going to lose money. Then you have investment B. The numbers aren't perfect. The scenario isn't perfect, but something about it feels right and you go with it and it makes money. Navel chakra. So very successful businessmen and women have big navel chakras. People that constantly sabotage themselves, that keep choosing the wrong options in life, small navel chakra. So you have to clean the navel, expand the navel, energize the navel, and then people's lower intuition will get better and better and better and better. And that's lower intuition. There are higher levels of intuition that are even more accurate than the navel. So I hope this is making sense to you guys. I hope this is adding value to your day, into your week, into your life. But again, keep in mind, just do it. Just do it. Yes, get a little bit of understanding, get a little bit of theory. We get it. But then you have to jump over to the area of practice. You You have to exercise the information that you know. You want to start a business? Great. Read one business book and then develop your product service and pitch it to the world. Then once you get some feedback and you need some clarity, then seek out a mentor, then seek out a book, then seek out a podcast, because you'll have something specific that you need answered versus I just want to keep getting more and more general knowledge. And then once I get a certain level of general knowledge, I'm going to get a certain level of specific knowledge, right? That's how school, elementary school, junior high, high school, and college and higher teachings is set up. It gets more and more specialized, but not a lot of it. James, I'm an namaste, but not a lot of it is practical. A lot of you guys don't know this. I dropped out of school my freshman year. Actually, the guy that just jumped on the live stream, him and I used to go to school together. I jumped out. I left school my freshman year of high school. Why? Because the people that were standing at the front of the room that were teaching a subject matter had no practical experience in what they were teaching. Not all of them, but most of them. So even as a teenager, I intuitively, navel chakra, I intuitively knew that they couldn't teach me what I want to know to help me get to where I want to go. Same thing of learning business from a business professor. Amela, namaste. Learning business from a business professor. Does this make sense? If they've never started a business, how dare they teach you about business? I'm going to say that again. If a business professor has never started a business and succeeded in business, how dare they teach you about business? Right? It was interesting because when I was growing up, the college I wanted to go to, instead of Springfield College, I wanted to go to Babson College. For those of you who do not know, Babson College is one of the top entrepreneurial colleges in the entire country. And the very first semester, as a freshman, you and I think 3 other people have to build a company from the ground up, earn $1,000, and then that $1,000 is donated to a charity of your choice. That is what I'm talking about, practical knowledge, practical application. And it's interesting because many of the top CEOs in the country came from Babson. The CEO of, the founder of Home Depot is a graduate of Babson College, and many others. But it's about practical. The professors are businessmen and businesswomen who just love to teach. That is who you should be learning from. That's who you should learn business from. If you want to learn about love and intimacy, learn from somebody who's been married for 20, 25 years, right? You want to learn about commitment and depth and beauty and intimacy. Look at a couple that's been with each other for 20, 25 years that still deeply, madly are in love with one another. That's your model, right? Not the person who's been divorced 4 times, who's giving you counsel and advice and mentorship on how to have a deep, loving, long-term, lasting relationship, right? Is this making sense? Is this clear to you guys? I remember when I initially started teaching men how to be more successful with women, because I was very unsuccessful with women as a teenager and into my late 20s. I didn't understand women at all. I was like, what do women want? You know the movie with Mel Gibson and Helen Hunt, What Women Want? I was that guy. I was like, what do they want? I had no idea. So I dedicated many years of learning in books and podcasts and websites and courses. And then guess what? Going out and applying it on a consistent, persistent basis to get feedback and tweaking until guess what? I very easily understood how to get how to get an attraction from a woman, how to be in a relationship with a woman, and how to have lots of fun with a woman. What I hadn't mastered at that time is how to have depth and intimacy and richness in the relationship. That took me much longer to figure out. And I'm still in the practice and process of experiencing that. Is this making sense? So Zach says, I wish all schools and training programs would just jump directly into practical situations. Couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more. Because look, the really interesting thing is the practical is where the rubber meets the road, right? But where does money, how do you drag out the process, right? You drag out the process by giving a person more information, more information, more information, more information, more information. That's how you create a 4-year degree, right? That's how you create a master's degree. That's how you create a PhD, because they're just stuffing it with more and more information from more and more disciplines, from more and more angles, but it's lacking the practical. The practical isn't that much, but the practical is what makes everything work. Without the practical, what do you have? Nothing. Think about it from a trade school perspective. Trade schools cost the least amount of money, and you make the most amount of money coming out. You invest the least amount of money, you invest the least amount of time, but you make the most amount of money coming out. Because it's all about practical, practical, practical. Plumbing, electrical work, roofing, carpentry, right? All of these things, it's like, okay, great. We could give you the history and the theory of plumbing. We could give you the history and theory of where electricity came from and how it developed throughout the past, 150 years. We can give you the background. We can give you the biographies of all these great, inventors and all the things that they have done. But at the end of all of that, listen, guys, at the end of all of that, can you install a simple light switch into a house? No. So it has no practical knowledge, no practical purpose. All right, I'm a namaste. I like seeing you posting on, it was Instagram, right? That you're posting your yoga routine. I don't know if it was Instagram or Facebook. They're kind of blending these days, but keep up the good work. So do you guys get what I'm saying? Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Stay out of your head. Stay away from theory. Go more towards the practical, because that's more fulfilling. That leads you closer to mastery. That leads you closer to making more money with whatever it is that you're doing, or getting better results in your personal life with whatever you're doing, right? So you could read about, like, your relationship isn't going very well, right? It's going horrible, right? It's falling apart at the seams. And you're like, what do I do to save my relationship? You could go and read 30 books on relationships and most likely be more confused by the end of it, right? Or you could read one book on relationships, take one aspect or principle you learned in that book on relationships, and then immediately what? Apply it into your relationship with that person to get feedback. Hello? That's why I love pranic healing so much. Every single class in pranic healing has the theory. It teaches the theory. This is the theory as to why we believe the principle is what the principle is. And then we apply that principle and get feedback. And we validate or invalidate the principle. Instead of we talk an entire day about principle, about theory, and never apply and never practice. Yes? Is this making sense? Is this clear? So Stephen says, as we vibrate our dreams and we take advantage of doing dreams, we enjoy the pay the best based on our skill sets. We use our skill sets for what we enjoy, with the planning and implementation to create prosperity. It's mindsets of success, applying skill sets of success. Yes, 100%. Good, it's clear for Zach. 100%. Application. Application of what you know. We have this, we've been conditioned by society and by the education system itself that we need more and more knowledge, more and more credentials, more and more licensing, more and more training, yes, in order to do simple things. Why? Because there's money to be made here. There's money to be made here. To give you an example, there's over 20 classes in pranic healing. That's a lot of classes, right? There's over 20 classes in pranic healing. With the exception of a few, you can take most all of those classes within 1.5 to 2 years, right? And then it will take you 20 plus years to master the application of what you learn in those classes. Just because you take a class on spirituality does not make you spiritual. Just because you took a class on healing does not make you a healer. Just because you took a class on prosperity does not make you prosperous. Namaste. Making sense? So it's more important to gather really powerful, really accurate information and then apply it. Apply it, apply it, apply it, apply it. Stephen says, have the mindset of success, apply the skill sets of success. Our identity constantly changes, so we want to work from our most resourceful identities. Correct. So that is it, guys. That was our talk for this afternoon. I hope you got value out of it. If you did, please, like Angela always does, please share it on your personal page, your professional page for other people that can get value from it as well. For those of you looking for healing, there's a guy I can recommend. His name is ChristianRLong.com. ChristianRLong.com. Go to my website, check it out, sign up for a distant healing session. We do 30 minutes of coaching to get understanding, 30 minutes of healing to transform your life in a specific area. And it's an honor to do the work that I do. I have a secret for you guys, right? Number one, I'm a practitioner of this. Not perfect, but I'm definitely a practitioner of this. And these live streams is a flow state for me because it's utilizing my ninja power. It's utilizing the gift that I had developed of communication over many, many lifetimes. So they say in the Western world, the number one fear is the fear of public speaking because it relates to rejection, which relates to death. So actually, public speaking is more of a fear than death, which is interesting when you think about it, right? But for some reason, I got all of that fear out of my system as a 6-year-old when I puked all over the dress of my guidance counselor at a singing event that I was part of when I was 6 years old. I think I was in the first grade. I remember falling off the stage, the curtains closed, I stood up, I was wobbly, I was dizzy, I was disorientated, and I puked all over her black dress. Then she took me to the nurses, and that was my only time of being nervous in front of people speaking. And I even sang in front of 2,000 people when I was 15 years old. I don't sing. I don't have the voice of a singer. Actually, I've been told I have a very good singing voice, but it's not that's not how I express myself. That's not how I use my ninja power. I use it through explaining, through cutting through fogginess of people's perceptions to help them see things clearly. Isn't it funny I said clearly wrong? To see things clearly, right? So that's my ninja power. So this, I love it. So the more we can get the message out, because I stay in my zone of genius, I recommend that each and every person stay within their zone of genius because that is what their soul is here to express in this incarnation. So that being said, Angela says, as always, thank you for sharing the wisdom from your teachers. Of course, my pleasure. Stephen says, what we identify with controls us. What we disidentify from, we gain control over. Correct. I am the soul affirmation. We are consciousness having a human experience. This is our present opportunity to wake up from the dreams and live them with the realm of our current identity, skill sets, expanding into conscious identities and skill sets. So it goes back to consciousness, goes back to awareness. Stephen writes so fast, I don't know how he does it, unless he's got one of the things like, what's it called? I don't know what it's called. See, that's not my skill set. Technology is not my zone of genius, even though I use a lot of it for my work. And that's it, guys. So thank you for your time, your energy, your love, your questions, your comments, your collaborations. If you need healing, find me online, ChristianRLong.com, and I look forward to serving you. Lydia, namaste. I haven't seen you in years. Good to see you on. Hopefully you can watch the replay and get a tremendous amount of value out of this stream for you and your business. Hope you're doing well. This is Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consultant, wishing you a beautiful day, a beautiful week, and a beautiful life. Atma, namaste. Bye-bye.